Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Ajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Ajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhagavatam Sesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhagavatam Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Can you pass the book to me, please, Chad? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, Science of God, Chapter 11, The Perfect Society, 4 Social Classes, Text 6. Please repeat after me. Yo Vitiryatmano Angshena Dakshayanyam Tu Dharmataha Lokanam Swastaye. What is it? Adyaste Tapo Badrika Ashrame Yo Vitaryatmanam Shena Dakshayanyam tu dharmataha Lokanam swastaye dyaste Tapobadarik ashrame Yo Vitaratmanam Shena Dakshayanyam tu dharmataha Lokanam swasta Yadyaste Tapo Badrik Ashame Yo Vaitiryatmanom Shena Dakshayanyam tu Dharmataha Lokanam Swastayadyaste Tapo Badrikashame Yaha, he who, Lord Narayan, Avatirya, adventing, Atmanaha, of himself, Ankshena, with a part, Nara, Dakshayanyam, in the womb of Dakshayani, the daughter of Maharaj Daksha. 2. Indeed, Dharmataha, from Dharma Maharaj, Lokanam, of all people, Swastaye, for the benefit of, Adyaste, executes, Tapaha, austerity, Badarik Ashame, in the place known as Badarik Ashram. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Lord Narayan, along with his partial manifestation Nara, appeared in this world through the daughter of Daksha Maharaj, known as Murti. He was begotten by Dharma Maharaj for the benefit of all living entities. Even now, he is still engaged in executing great austerities near the place known as Badrika Ashram. Next text 7. Dharma mulam hi bhagavan sarvavedam mayo harihi smritam cha tadvidam rajan yena chatma prasidati. The Supreme Being, the Personality of Godhead, is the essence of all Vedic knowledge, the root of all religious principles, and the memory of great authorities. O King Yudhiṣṭhira, this principle of religion is to be understood as evidence. On the basis of this religious principle, everything is satisfied, including one's mind, soul, and even one's body. Purport. As stated by Yamaraj, Dharmantu Shakshad Bhagavat Pranitam, Yamaraj, the representative of the Lord who takes care of the living beings after their death, gives his verdict as to how and when the living being will change his body. He is the authority, and he says that the religious principles consist of the codes and laws given by God. No one can manufacture religion, and therefore manufactured religious systems are rejected by the followers of the Vedic principles. In Bhagavad Gita 15:15 it is said, Vedeshcha sarvar ahameva vedyaha. Vedic knowledge means to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Therefore, whether one speaks of the Vedas, scriptures, religion, or the principles of everyone's occupational duty, all of them must aim at understanding Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 6, therefore concludes, Savai pumsa paro dharmo yato bhaktir hoksaje ahaitikya pratiyatayi atma suprasidati. In other words, religious principles aim at learning how to render transcendental loving service to the Lord. That service must be unmotivated and unchecked by material conditions. Then human society will be happy in all respects. The Smriti, the scriptures following the principles of Vedic knowledge, are considered the evidence of Vedic principles. There are 20 different types of scripture for following religious principles. And among them, the scriptures of Manu and Yajnavalkya are considered to be all-pervading authorities. In the Yajnavalkya Smriti, it is said, Shuddhi Smriti Sadachara Swasya Cha Priyam Atmanaha Samyak Sankalpa Ja Kamo Dharmamulam Idam Smritam. One should learn human behavior from Shruti, the Vedas, and from Smriti, the scriptures following the Vedic principles. Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidim Vina Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpataya Yaiva Kalpate. The purport is that to become a devotee, one must follow the principles laid down in Shruti and Smriti. One must follow the codes of the Puranas and the Pancharatrika Vidhi. One cannot be a pure devotee without following the Shruti and Smriti, and the Shruti and Smriti without devotional service cannot lead one to the perfection of life. Therefore, from all the evidence, the conclusion is that without bhakti, devotional service, there is no question of religious principles. God is the central figure in the performance of religious principles. Almost everything going on in this world as religion is devoid of any devotional service and is therefore condemned by the verdict of Srimad Bhagavatam. Without devotional service, so-called religious principles are only cheating. Omagyanitavarindasya kananjana shavakaya chakshulan maditam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha makam karitavachalam pangam langayate girim yakhipatamaham vande shri gurun dinitaridam vanchakapadirubhishcha kripa sindhubevacha patitanam bhavaribhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dharman Tushaksha Bhagavat Pranitam. So real religion comes from Krishna, comes from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whereas we were reading yesterday from the mouth of Krishna, or the mouth of Narayan, real religious principles, that's where they come from. And these principles are the codes and laws given by God. So anything manufactured in a speculative way is rejected by Vaishnavas, by devotees. And there's many speculative theories out there. Speaking from the Vaishnava perspective, there's so many books, so many lectures, so many podcasts, and so on, in which people are just completely speculating. They have no idea what they're talking about from the Vedic perspective. And many of these people, they claim to be followers of the Vedas. And also, like was mentioned yesterday, a broken clock or a stopped clock is right at least twice in the day. So they may have particular things right, but overall their general understanding is wrong. So there's many such people, and we see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement after after his disappearance, went through some turbulent times, some rough times, in which his movement was actually overshadowed or hijacked by all types of speculators and sense enjoyers. People who had no regard for Shruti, people who had no regard for Smriti, people who didn't care what was stated in the books, and they just speculated like there was no tomorrow. And not only were they speculating on the absolute truth and completely disregarding the message of Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam, but they're performing all types of sinful activities in the name of Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada, I believe, what are there, 12 or 13 deviant groups, and they all have their unique deviations. Some of the common thread that is connecting all of them is they all have no consideration whatsoever for the philosophical understanding of Bhagavatam, and none of them follow any of the principles, means the four regulative principles or anything like that. But they all have their unique deviations. They think for example, the Sakibekis, they dress as women. They're men who dress as women, and gopis, this is their idea that they're getting into gopi bhav, and they'll start practicing by dressing as women. Anyways, but we won't get into all that. But we see that there is a strong possibility of a whole movement becoming derailed, becoming confused, losing their understanding of what's important. They call like a mission drift. So whole movements go through this. What to speak of individuals? There's a great possibility that individuals will develop the wrong idea. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he describes this as one of the faults of the jiva, or the living entity, that it's called as tattva vibhrama. There's a misunderstanding of the truth. And when there's a misunderstanding of the truth, then one engages in wrong activity or immoral activity, or they teach others in a wrong way. They don't give people the right idea. So, and it's interesting because whether we want to talk about philosophical misunderstandings or whether we want to talk about just problems in general, some people have a great philosophical understanding, but then they have problems. Means personal problems. Some people have a very bad understanding, or maybe you could say there's some faults in their understanding of Krishna consciousness, but maybe they're much more able to follow certain things. You have, what is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when they're talking about Haridas Thakur, says that not only do you practice, achara and prachara, not only do you practice purely, but you also teach, because the idea is that some people, they practice purely, but they don't teach. But you do both. You practice properly and you teach. And therefore, you're most advanced. This is referring to Haridas Thakur. So that's what's necessary. One is we have to have the right understanding of the fundamental philosophical principles outlined in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We have to have the right understanding, and then we have to practice, and then we have to try to help other people understand. I remember there was one of my friends, he was mentioning how, my devotee friends, he was mentioning how he was a bhakti leader at a particular temple. And he said there's this really great brahmachari. He was learned and he was austere and humble and all that good stuff. And he said he just had one fault. He was just really attached to women. That was his fault. Or you could say he was really lusty. I mean, women, men, nothing wrong with. Well, Prabhupada said men are good, women are good, but combined they're bad. But Prabhupada had some experience with that because he would be the priest performing the marriage ceremony for his disciples. And he had a lot of experience where these marriages didn't work out. So Prabhupada had some. But there is religious household life and all that. But this bhakti, my friend who was a bhakti leader, he was just saying, yeah, I mean, he's just so good, but he's just with that lust thing, it's difficult. And I remember another friend of mine, he was commenting about another person similarly here in San Diego, and he was saying, yeah, it's amazing, this was many years ago. But he said, it's amazing, he's a great mridanga player, he's a great speaker, he's a great preacher. I mean, it's amazing, but he's just attached to gambling. Yeah. He had a real struggle with it, Jones, and there's all these casinos around. It's not that just casinos are in Las Vegas. You drive 30 minutes, there's a casino this way. You drive 30 minutes, there's a casino that way. And you drive 30 minutes, there's a casino this way. I don't know about this way, the ocean, but...
That's where you go when you lose it.
Yeah, when you lose it, you jump in the ocean. So... there's a saying, okay, fly in the ointment or cockroach in the ghee or sand in the sweet rice, right? These things, they're very pleasant. Ointment, just like we have every morning, it's offered to the deities, and then the devotee goes around with a Q-tip and puts ointment on all the devotees. A nice scent, but if it's contaminated by a fly, it just loses its charm. Or, you might want to cook with some nice ahimsa milk. Ahimsa milk produced ghee. I mean, there's ahimsa milk, then it became ghee. So you got this very fine quality ghee, right? Yes, let's cook for it, and we'll cook for the deities and so on. But then you look and there's a cockroach, and it's just spoils the whole thing. Or sand in the sweet rice. It's like, now, of course, how would sand get in the sweet rice? Not sure. But, huh? Yes, someone who sabotages the Sunday feast. Apparently one devotee, he told me he had a friend, and the friend was apparently not so nice, or at least maybe you want to say an acquaintance. But what he did one time on his birthday is he made a cake. And the cake was full of a bunch of cherry seeds. Yeah. This was a bad trick he pulled. That let's make a cake with a bunch of seeds, and then everybody gets a piece, and then when they bite into the cake, they, hurt their teeth. So sand in the sweet rice, I'm not sure how that exactly happened, but we could understand the principle that it is very unpleasant. It was once a pleasant thing, and it becomes unpleasant. So, of course, these faults that a person may have, you could say in many ways they're external. They're like fog. That can easily be dissipated by the sun of the holy name of Krishna. But nonetheless, they seem very real, they seem very powerful, although they're fog-like. But still, there's a great emphasis on us not just surrendering to them. We should surrender to Krishna. Sarvadhamam pratyajya mamekam sharanam vraja. We should surrender to Krishna, not to, hey, this is how I am. I'm just a gambler, by nature. Or I'm humble and I'm austere, I'm this and that, but I'm just attached to women or lust or whatever. But we shouldn't surrender to those things. We should surrender to Krishna. And if we can't surrender to Krishna, we should at least immediately, then we should at least try. We should have it in our mind that, okay, I need to surrender to Krishna, not surrender to these things. Because if we surrender to these things, then we may have so many good qualifications that we can use to contribute to the Hare Krishna movement and to serving Srila Prabhupada. But some of these things could be serious roadblocks that hold us up, that actually disqualify us in ways. If somebody's out gambling their life away, you can't, although they're a great Bhagavatam class speaker, and although they're a great this and a great that, you can't ask the person, hey Prabhu, can you give the festival talk? If you know the guy's out just gambling his life away. So these things hold us back, whatever it may be. And even externally we may be doing the right things, but if we have the wrong understanding, that also may hold us back. Just like in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, you have one person by the name of Ram Das. I don't know if he should be called Ram Das, but anyways. His name is Ram Das. And what was he doing? He was chanting Ram, Ram, Ram. It was just Ram, 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 just chanting all day long, like 24 hours a day. He was just chanting. And he went to Puri to meet Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Chaitanya, he just really neglected him. He just didn't speak with him at all. And then later on, people found out why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not bestowing his mercy on him. And why was that? Didn't the younger devotees remember? Yes. He wanted to become Ram. That's why he was chanting Ram, 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 so he could become Ram. It's a problem. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he's a Mayavadi. Mayavadi Krishna Aparadi, offender to Krishna. So, and similarly, this just committing one offense can lead to so many offenses. Just like the holy name of Krishna says that there's one offense that will, if we commit it, will strengthen all the other offenses or cause us to commit all the other offenses. And that is the offense of inattention. From that, all the other offenses come. And when we talk about religious principles, because here it's been mentioned religious principles, and then now we're talking about deviation from religious principles and so on. But when we talk about religious principles, or when we talk about Krishna consciousness, the natural question is, does it work? Does Krishna consciousness work? Depends who you ask. If you ask some people, they'll say, no, it doesn't work. If you ask some people, they say, yes. And what do we mean by does it work? Well, there's an idea that, well, if you do A, B, C, and D, then you'll get a particular result. If you chant the Hare Krishna mantra with attention, trying to avoid the offenses, then there'll be a particular result. And that, what's that? Shatru Chedaika Mantram Sakalam Upanishad Vakya Sampuja Mantram Samsaro Cheda Mantram Samachitatamasa Sangha Niryana Mantram Sarvaishvaryaika Mantram Vyasana Bhujaka Sandasha Santrana Mantram Jive Shri Krishna Mantram Japa Japa Satatam Janma Salpaya Mantram. So Shatru Chedaika Mantram. So this mantra, Hare Krishna mantra, it frees one from the enemies. Their enemies means the internal enemies: lust, anger, greed, illusion, all of these things. So it frees one from those. Shatru Chedaika Mantram Sakalam Upanishad Vakya Sampuja Mantram. It is glorified in all the words of the Upanishads. It breaks the cycle of birth and death. It gives one all the good qualities of the demigods, and it awakens love for Krishna. So at least you could say, well, some of these, how can we tell? You know, does it look like my cycle of birth and death is ending? No. How can we tell? Well, at least good qualities. I mean, are we becoming free of these other enemy qualities, and are we developing good qualities? That could be seen. And there's other things that could be seen. For example, some of the are we experiencing some of the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness? So the question is, does it work? And one of the fences to the holy names is to consider the glories of the holy name to be imagination. So there's so many wonderful things said about the holy name. So we just say, oh, that's imagination. Now, why would somebody think it's imagination? One thing is that clearly they have no faith in it or understanding. But a devotee at a particular point may not think the glories of the holy name are imagination. They may think, oh, I believe this, it's true, I've experienced some of it. But due to inattentive chanting, due to other fly-like faults in the ointment of the practice of Krishna consciousness, they may develop this understanding that, oh, this is all just imagination, Krishna consciousness. The glories of the holy name is just simply imagination. And actually, it's just, the whole Krishna consciousness is just a complete pipe dream. In other words, it's complete hallucination. So, due to committing offenses, one may come to that point. Of course, by mentioning this, the idea is not to do that, but to chant properly, so one will have the proper understanding and not to lose the great opportunity to be Krishna conscious and to reach the goal of life. But we see that happens sometimes with people. Just go on the internet, look up a few websites. Some people who used to be devotees, and then we'll take a question in a minute, please. But just look that up. Look it up. Or don't look it up. So, lastly, when we're engaging in devotional service, we want it to be pure, unmotivated, not materially motivated. And that service will completely satisfy us. If it's unmotivated, it means not materially motivated, and uninterrupted. So this is a famous verse in the Bhagavatam, 126, Savai Pumso Paro Dhammo, that the supreme occupation for all humanity is that by which men can attain to the loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated, uncontaminated, or uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So Srila Prabhupada says that this is an answer to the first question of the sages of Naimisharanya. And that question is, the sages ask him to summarize the whole range of revealed scriptures and present the most essential part so that the fallen people or the people in general might easily take it up. So this is the essence, that one should engage in unmotivated and uninterrupted service, which will satisfy the self. So Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, which we won't read the whole purport, but says that, he says, therefore devotional service to the Lord must be pure in quality, without the least desire for material enjoyment. One should therefore accept the superior quality of occupation in the form of the devotional service of the Lord without any tinge of unnecessary desire, fruit of action, and philosophical speculation. And then Prabhupada says, this alone can lead one to perpetual solace in his service. So, if we want perpetual solace in our service, then he's saying that these are the qualities that have to be developed. And therefore, there's a great stress on learning, right? Shruti, Smriti, what is in the what is the essence of the Vedas? Of course, you have the Bhagavatam, essence of all Vedic scriptures. So learning that, and then following those principles that are outlined in the Srimad Bhagavatam and becoming purified to the point where one just engages in pure devotional service. This Savaya Pumso Parodama Yato Bhaktir Hoksuje. And in this way one could be completely satisfied. All right, any question or comment?
How do you escape life and death? Is that through dying, or is it, I don't know, like I know in the Bible it talks about Elijah riding on the chariot, God coming and taking Elijah on the chariot.
Okay. Well, yeah, there is life in this world, which is said to be material existence, experience of material existence. And the idea is that the soul is transmigrating from body to body, the principle of reincarnation, due to material attachments, attachment to things of this world and people of this world and so on. So the idea is that the soul needs to transfer their attachment from matter or from this material world to Krishna, or to God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, if one is able to do that, and if one is able to awaken their Krishna consciousness, fully awaken their Krishna consciousness in this life, then in their next life, they could go to the spiritual world, and then they're free from this material existence. And they're able to have their life of eternality, knowledge, and bliss in the spirit, in spiritual existence with Krishna. So that's the idea. And the essence of all religious principles, as outlined in the Srimad Bhagavatam, is chanting the holy name of Krishna. Yes, Ram Vilas.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Ram doesn't want to become Ram. He's a servant.
Yes.
Right?
So Prabhu, because
so we'll accept his question on that basis.
Jai Prabhu. So because you discussed about like after Mahaprabhu leaving or like finishing his pastimes here, there are like a lot of apasampradayas which stemmed out. So like we know that from Gaudiya Vaishnavism also, it's like a stream of like Madhva Sampradaya, which because Mahaprabhu like directly Krishna came and gave this stream of Gaudiya Sampradaya, we are following it. But now there are like so many things that are happening in the names of dovetailing, this, that and all.
Mm-hmm.
How do we keep track of like whether this Sampradaya is actually deviating, or because the Sakhi Vedi and all, they have some aspects of Bhagavatam, like in terms of singing Venu Geet or Gopi Geet and so on. And like how do we know that like, okay, this is deviation and this is...
yeah. Well, they haven't introduced it in ISKCON yet, the Sakhi Beki principle, as far as I've seen. The new thing around the corner, who knows? Well, we know by very closely understanding what Srila Prabhupada has written in his books, in his purports. I mean, we take him as the Acharya the founder Acharya of the Hare Krishna movement. I mean, he is. So really whatever we're doing is based on what he taught us. And of course, he's not alone. He has a whole disciplic succession behind him, and he's taken from the commentaries. It is very interesting what Srila Prabhupada did in his writing, in the writing of his books. As we mentioned before, or we've talked about before, but some books are wholly and solely meant for advanced Vaishnavas. It means people who are already convinced of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it's just like pure pastimes. And you see Srila Prabhupada's books, he wrote them in such a way as that they're for a beginner, they are good, and for somebody who is intermediate and someone who's advanced, they're good for everyone. But if you look at Srila Prabhupada's purports, they're unique and very inspiring. Sometimes I've read other people's books. I mean, I read a number of other Vaishnava books. Need to read more Vaishnava books, but and I remember sometimes when I would be reading them, I'd be thinking, I miss Srila Prabhupada's purports. You know, they're so like powerful, actually. I was just reading last night, and the third canto, and it was Kapila Dev's teaching to his mother, in which he's describing the journey of the conditioned soul and how they go through their life and ignorance, and Prabhupada's just in the purport. I mean, it's just like, I was like shocked. You know, I was like, it's really amazing how strong he is, but it really makes an impact. It's like, wow, man, how are you supposed to really go for material life after reading this? So how do we know if we're deviating? Then we should very closely look at Srila Prabhupada's books and his instructions on things, and then we'll know whether this is a deviation or not. Of course, like William Blake said, both you and I read the Bible day and night. You read black and I read white. So we could both be reading the same scripture, and it's like we come up with different conclusions based on our desires. We say, hey, this is, I want to, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the healing herb. What does that mean? Anyone know? 420? Means it's time to smoke ganja. It's time to smoke ganja. I'm the healing herb, right? So people may think that, and I don't know if we could say they honestly think that. Maybe dishonestly think that. But in this way, maybe not in such an extreme way, but in so many ways there can be justifications. Hey, this is Krishna consciousness. So there's an emphasis on being honest. There's an emphasis at really looking at what the Acharya said. But aside from that, there's an emphasis on becoming purified to actually understand. And therefore, when we see all these books from the Acharyas, I mean, whether they're Nitya Siddha or Sadhana Siddha or just extreme or just qualified based on their surrender to their guru, it's not that anyone and everyone was just writing books and they were considered like authorized. But we have Rupa Goswami, we have all these Acharyas, and they're giving their understanding, and we accept that understanding. But nowadays, I mean, anyone could be an Acharya, you know. Just go online, you're Acharya, you have your voice, you know, and develop your following and everything. So, but as members of the Hare Krishna movement, we want to really take a look at what Srila Prabhupada said in his books and really seriously try to understand. And we want to be honest about that, not like just trying to cheat, not just trying to cheat in such a way as to make things easier for us. And we also should understand that in order to have an idea what is real and what is not, we need to have a purified consciousness. And also, lastly, we should check with those who are advanced devotees. And say, well, they have different opinions. Right?
What was that guy's name you said?
I said many guys' names. I'm not sure.
No, because I'm wondering, how can I be the healing herb?
It was a joke where Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he says he's the healing herb, which the joke is people sometimes think he's talking about marijuana. But
But if that is the I in the person, that is what they do, and that is who they are, and that is their healing herb.
well, it's a free world, but
But it's not for us to say, because it is your healing herb,
I mean,
my healing herb.
whether you want to talk about the medicinal effects of marijuana, that's not the point of it. But Krishna in the
It's not about the marijuana, it's about the I.
yeah, well, if you want to talk about I or me or whatever, but Krishna is just saying in the Bhagavad Gita that he's not saying that. That's the point. He's not saying that he is marijuana. He's saying something else.
He's